Hey everybody, how are you guys doing? It is July 19th, 2026, and we have found ourselves in a very weird situation. And I'm just here to try to first, uh, I first want to say that when I first started doing Let's Talk Jacksons, it was basically to give people an avenue to honestly discuss Jackson County issues. I feel that a lot of the time, the media doesn't really go into a lot of county issues, and the county issues really aren't that popular. And so I wanted to use my channel as a way to discuss issues going on in the county, and to have a sort of a communication bridge with my membership about the issues going on in Jackson County. Now, I say this because, as everyone knows, I'm running for Jackson County Executive on August 4th, 2026. One of the main reasons why I decided to run for Jackson County Executive was because in 2019/2020, when the property tax crisis happened, and I did research and I found out all this level of corruption in the county, and misappropriations, and lack of leadership. I basically went out and I tried to find a person to run against Frank White to fix what's going on in Jackson County government. And no one was willing to challenge him in the Democratic primary. And that's when I decided that I needed to perform my own civic duty and give people a choice in the Democratic primary as to who they want to lead the Jackson County government. And one of the issues that really was really important to me at that time, and I said one, but it's really three. First, of course, was the property taxes, because we all know that the assessment process is has been completely out of control for a series of years. The second one was our budgetary issues, which we basically haven't had any good practice when it comes to budgeting. And even today, we haven't actually resolved the decades of like what I believe are acts of misappropriation and mismanagement when it comes to our county funds. But third and finally is our Jackson County Jail. Um, in 2022, one of the main reasons why I actually wanted to win, even though it wasn't really discussed that much, was I wanted to have more oversight over the Jackson County Jail, because I realized that when the plans for the jail were being solidified, the areas that they wanted to put the jail in my opinion, was not the best area to put a $300 million jail facility. Now, if you guys remember, the area that we put the new Jackson County Jail in essentially is a historic floodplain that originally had over 100 people living there. So we not only bought this massive amount of property that's in a historic floodplain to build a jail that's supposed to last us 50 plus years, but we also made a lot of people in that area essentially houseless. And that is an issue that really isn't discussed that much, but it's an issue that we're actually also going to talk about today because of the recent fiasco when it comes to the whole entire uh, uh, gel issues. Now, before we start this program, I want to remind everyone here that no excuse voting starts July 21st, and the primary election starts is on August 4th. Okay, so if for some reason you are unable to vote on August 4th, or your friends are unable to vote on August 4th, or your family members are unable to vote on August 4th, please vote prior to this, because this is a very important race. Um, I honestly believe right now we are on the precipice when it comes to the Jackson County government, that if we don't make the right decisions this year, our county government is going to shatter. Uh, we haven't really discussed this at length before, but remember, this year the state government has already been flaunting or flirting with the whole idea of splitting our county in half. And if we don't really go in next year and do the reforms that are needed to make Jackson County government actually um, lawfully run and financially stable, we might actually lose control over the entire county. So this is why this is very important and critical that we get the right people in office this year. Now, I'm first going to talk about the jail fiasco um, when it comes to the chaos in the county. And the jail fiasco, I already basically started with the whole idea that um, how in the inception, when we first purchased, and when I say we, I mean the county government first purchased the land that this jail now sits on, that it was a bad purchase. We're talking about an area that's a historical floodplain. And the reason why it's a historical floodplain is because two creeks run perpendicular through the land. And so it could, it's susceptible to flooding. Now, for those who do not know, there's been issues with the jail. On May 19th, it was reported that the jail has been suffering through a lot of technical issues, which includes that there's no air conditioning at the jail, that there's sewage backups, that there right now is overcrowding, that there's communication system issues, that there are people, staff that are not responding to medical issues when it comes to the people that are in the jail, that there are no access to showers in the jail. And this has led to a report that 70 people, they literally allocated, uh, according to this report, one mop bucket to 70 people in order to do wash ups of themselves, which is completely ridiculous and uncalled for. It's like, I understand people's people's opinion that you do the crime, you do the time, but honestly, when it comes to the jail, like the people that are jailed are still humans, okay, and they need to be treated in a humane fashion. And the reports that are coming out of the jail makes it seem like that is not being upheld. And the reason why I'm bringing this up right now is, as we all know, or I mean, I don't know if you know, but the jail was open this year in August. We had these reports of all these issues in May, so a month later from the jail opening. Yesterday, it was reported that one inmate died due to medical issues. I do not know the specifics with what happened at the jail that led to this death, but we have to know about these issues because one, this is going to be investigated, but two, if this inmate's condition was caused by the conditions of the jail, like for instance, say if he needed certain medication and it wasn't provided, then that's a lawsuit that we, as the Jackson County government, will have to face. And so that's why, it's so important this election this year, because we have to, when we're talking about auditing the government, this also includes looking into what's going on at the jail right now, because we spent $300 million to build this brand new facility and it already has all these issues. So if you guys aren't aware, please look it up because this is a very important topic right now, and we have to really make sure that the inmates in this jail are actually being treated humanely. Now, we're going to talk about the alleged legislative misconduct that's currently taking place in Jackson County government. Before we begin on this, I have to say is our current standard in the United States is, you're innocent before you're proven guilty. Any allegation, like everything that has come out has just been purely allegations, and you should take it as that. There hasn't been any facts presented yet. And when I say facts, what I mean is documentation that will actually show that any of these allegations are actually true. But we need to discuss this because this involves current high-ranking members of our legislature, and these are serious allegations. Sorry, give me a second. Okay, so now when we're talking about the alleged misconduct, what I'm talking about here is what happened last week when our current chairman of the Jackson County Legislature, essentially, his name is Manny Abarca. He essentially brought up allegations that that a person attempted to bribe him in order to pass a housing project. For those who are unaware about the situation, I found two news stories that give pretty good summations of what happened, and I'm going to play them now. And please let me know if the audio is okay on these videos.
We begin with a new corruption claim involving Jackson County government and a call for a criminal investigation. Good evening, everybody. I'm Chris Ketz.
And I am Bria Berry in Villara tonight. KMBC 9's Andy Alcock is live outside the Jackson County Courthouse downtown. Andy, these corruption claims include promises of campaign donations.
Yeah, exactly right, Bria. Jackson County Legislature Chair Manny Abarca is making these accusations. Abarca claims he was offered a large campaign contribution in exchange for pushing forward a housing plan the legislature shelved months ago. Did you try and bribe Mr. Abarca? No. Jackson County Legislature employee Calvin Williford walked away from us while we tried to question him. Last night, Legislature Chair Manny Abarca sent this email to Jackson County Sheriff Daryl Forte. In it, he claims Williford offered him between $50,000 and $10,000 in a political contribution. In exchange, Abarca said Williford wanted support for a housing project on county land withdrawn from the legislature in February. As evidence, Abarca offered this email Williford sent him after their meeting on Habitat Cleveland affordable housing with two links.
I think it's important for the public trust for folks to know immediately about this.
In 2018, Williford pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud. Williford admitted to a scheme with former Jackson County Executive Mike Sanders to steal campaign money for personal use. Legislator Donna Payton refused to speak to us on camera. Payton said she hired Williford to give him a second chance, but ultimately she dumped him. Legislator Vanessa Husky then hired Williford. Husky said she fired him because he was really working for legislator Deron McGee, not her. In Abarca's email to Sheriff Forte, he claims Williford told him McGee previously accepted a $50,000 campaign contribution to get the housing project passed. But when it fizzled, so did the contribution, and with it, McGee's run for county executive.
At least one legislator and at least a staff member are in this because we don't know the true depth and understanding yet of who's involved and to what end.
Williford is currently on paid administrative leave from his job at the auditor's office of the legislature. Abarca has called a special meeting of the legislature, closed door, tomorrow to discuss this issue. Legislator Deron McGee has not responded to our request for comment on the accusations against him. Reporting live outside the Jackson County Courthouse, Andy Alcock, KMBC 9 News.
All right, Andy, we know you'll stay on top of it. Thank you. Another twist in
So this is the first clip. This is the second clip I wanted to show. This is basically what happened the next day with the closed door meeting.
Jackson County's legislative chair says he was offered a $50,000 bribe to support a housing project. Fox 4 obtained an email Manny Abarca sent to Sheriff Darrell Forte Wednesday night. I'm John Holt.
I'm Bria Love. Our Jonathan Katz joining us live from the county courthouse after the legislature met in a closed session earlier today. John?
Bria, that closed session lasted for about an hour and a half. Abarca says that the bribe came from Calvin Williford, the aide to former county executive Mike Sanders. Abarca also has questions for former county legislative chairman Deron McGee.
The email says Williford offered Abarca between a $10,000 and $50,000 political contribution in return for support on a housing project involving a company called Champion. Abarca says Williford stated the same $50,000 offer was made to McGee, but when the project didn't go through, Champion asked for the donation back, effectively ending his campaign for county executive. McGee did not attend in person on Friday.
So Deron McGee did join both, I think, legislatively in the full meeting, and then I think that's where I have to stop, unfortunately. I don't think I can talk about, I'm looking to my general counsel over there.
In May, Abarca announced he was going to run for county executive instead of running for re-election to his legislative seat.
Do you think that this situation helps you in the August primary?
I don't think that has anything to do with this discussion, unfortunately.
Legislative Vice Chair Sean Smith says criminal accusations like this are serious.
And therefore, we take our duty to do our job and to keep information that's privileged and confidential.
Williford and McGee did not respond to our request for comment. Abarca's asked for Williford to be put on administrative leave. In 2018, Williford was sentenced to 6 months in prison for conspiracy to commit wire fraud after working under Sanders.
Late this afternoon, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office said that they will not be investigating this case. An outside agency will be. John, what agency that is, they did not say.
Jonathan Katz downtown at the Jackson County Courthouse.
Yes, one thing I want to say is when it comes to these types of allegations, it's usually, in my experience as an attorney, this would be most likely investigated by the federal government because these are federal crimes. Because what Manny is essentially alleging is a bribe for campaign contribution. Now, when it comes to the players of this, of these alleged acts, the main players in these allegations are Chairman Manny Abarca, Jackson County legislator and former Chairman Deron McGee, and an employee in the auditor's office named Calvin Williford. The news stories did a great job with making a summary of the issues, but I'm here to, give people more of a detail on, these characters like that the media might not cover. And so when I'm talking about these characters, I'm not going to be talking about Chairman Manny Abarca or Deron McGee, but I'm going to be talking about two people. One is Calvin Williford, and the other one is the county auditor, because they might be like, if these allegations are proven true, this is a situation involving potentially the auditor's office. Now, Calvin Williford, I call this the curious case of Calvin Williford because I'm going to go over his history with you, because he, in my opinion, he should have never been allowed back to work in the county office. There is a history with Calvin Williford that is a very serious one. And despite what happened in his past, he was given another opportunity to work in the county government. And this is essentially what happened. But let's get into it. Oh, actually, sorry. Let's talk about it. I skipped ahead. So who is Calvin Williford? Calvin Williford essentially is the former county executive Mike Sanders' chief of staff. Now he became he became the chief of staff while Mike Sanders was our county executive. And people might know the name Mike Sanders because Mike Sanders literally went to prison for 27 months for acts relating to campaign finance fraud. And when he went to prison, Calvin Williford was also convicted and sentenced to 6 months in prison for conspiracy to commit wire fraud in connection with Mike Sanders' campaign finance fraud. And I found a short video that goes into more detail about that I'm going to play right now.
Guilty plea from the man who used to serve as Jackson County prosecutor and later run the county.
Former county executive Mike Sanders and his chief of staff both pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud.
41 Action News reporter Andres Gutierrez is live at the federal courthouse in Kansas City. So, Andres, what are the two accused of doing?
Mike, because Mike Sanders and his former chief of staff are so connected to the Kansas City area, the prosecutors had to come in all the way from Washington to present these cases. Both men said that they are remorseful for their actions. Former Jackson County executive Mike Sanders darted into the federal courthouse this afternoon without making any remarks. Inside the courtroom, he confessed to misappropriating campaign funds for personal use. His attorney, J.R. Hobbs, spoke on his behalf.
He sincerely apologizes not only to his family, but to the residents of Jackson County.
During a lengthy investigation, federal prosecutors discovered that between 2006 and November of 2014, Sanders would write checks meant for campaign activities, that money was never used for its intended purpose. In court today, Sanders admitted he pocketed between $15,000 to $40,000.
Mike knew better then, and he knows better now. He also knows that mistakes come with a price. He accepts responsibility for his conduct and whatever punishment comes with it.
In a separate hearing this morning, Sanders' former chief of staff, Calvin Williford, entered a guilty plea for his role in the scheme. Williford confessed that he used $40,000 to $95,000 for personal expenses, including a trip that Sanders and Williford took to Las Vegas.
From the beginning of this investigation, he has cooperated with the authorities and has attempted to accept full responsibility for his actions in this case. He regrets them, and again, he's anxious for closure.
The charge that both men face wire fraud carries a maximum punishment of 5 years in prison. Williford's attorney is working hard to avoid that.
We hope that we get the lowest sentence we possibly can when we come back in a few months.
Yes, so basically, if you didn't catch all of that, here's what the Kansas City Star said. Williford, who was Sanders' top aide in the county, pleaded guilty to using between $40,000 and $95,000 in campaign funds for personal expenses, including gambling trips to Las Vegas and paying individuals to tear down the yard signs of political opponents. Both men were indicted and sentenced to federal court for their roles in the corruption scandal. Now, after that happened, Calvin Williford essentially was kind of taken out of the political scene, right? He was sentenced to 6 months. That means he most likely was released from prison either in 2018 or in 2019, depending on when he went in there. But what happened afterwards to Calvin Williford? In January of 2023, Jackson County legislator Donna Payton appointed Calvin Williford as her legislative aide. Okay, so after all of this happened, like the corruption and the indictment and everything, Calvin Williford found his way back into the Jackson County government. And I have to say this personally. When I lost the county executive race in 2022, I was appalled by a lot of decisions that were made by the in January 2023 by the new sworn-in Jackson County legislature. One of the decisions was this one. Donna Payton did say that the reason why she hired Calvin Williford is because she believed in second chances and was willing to give him another chance at this job. But afterwards, Donna Payton removed him from her office and he started working with Vanessa Husky, the other Jackson County legislative aide. And then afterwards, he left her office to essentially work in the legislative auditor's office. So since 2025, Calvin Williford has worked in the county auditor's office, which should concern everyone. That leads me to the next question. What's going on in the auditor's office? Now, first, I have this whole block of text here. This is from the charter of what the county auditor does, but I want to just give a brief explanation. So the county auditor is essentially is a person who is supposed to oversee and audit the county government's functions. The Jackson County legislature actually appoints the county auditor. The county executive has no say over this entire appointment, okay? So when our current county auditor was appointed, it was essentially appointed by the Jackson County legislature in 2023 and not by the county executive, Frank White. Just for that clarification. This is where we go next to what I call the curious case of Q. Troy Thomas. Now, with Q. Troy Thomas, if you're asking me who is Q. Troy Thomas, Q. Troy Thomas is our current county legislator, okay? A brief recap of Q. Troy Thomas's history in the Jackson County government is that in 1999, he started working in the Jackson County government. He was appointed manager of the Division of Finance, and he's basically was in that Division of Finance until 2023 when he was appointed as the Chief Financial Officer of the Jackson County government. Now, from 2007 to 2016, he acted in other roles in the county government. He acted as the director of financing and purchasing, the acting director of financing and purchasing, and the acting chief administrative officer of the Jackson County government. But in 2016, he was reappointed by Frank White as the chief financial officer. Okay? He was reappointed as the chief financial officer on April 18th, 2016. And then on March 6th, 2017, the Jackson County legislature hired an accounting firm to audit the county's financial statements, okay? This is important to note because as I've discussed with you before, there was an auditor's report that came out in 2020 by Nicole Galloway. She was the state auditor at the time. And a lot of her information was derived from this audit that was being conducted, that started being conducted in 2017. So on March 6, 2017, this independent accounting firm started to conduct an audit on Jackson County government. During this audit, Q. Troy Thomas was removed from office in November 2017, okay? And his removal at the time was very controversial. Frank White refused to go into detail as to why he was terminated, and the legislature really didn't have clarification about his termination either. Now, in November 2020, the audit of Jackson County is officially released. And basically, our state auditor, Nicole Galloway, gave Jackson County government a poor rating, which is the lowest rating that a state auditor can give to a governmental entity. And she found, serious errors, which include that there was $100 million accounting budgeting error, but also that 2.7 million contracts were not competitively bid on. So when I talk about not competitively bid on, these are called essentially no bid contracts, where usually speaking, when a government is contracting out services, they have a duty to essentially do a request for proposals and go out into the community and say, hey, this is what we want to do. Can you give us or to the community, hey, this is what we want to do. If you can do this, please send us back your proposal or your bid to do this work. And so after that is sent out, they are then supposed to take those bids and narrow it down, usually to 3, give 3 of those bids serious consideration, and then pick the best bid out of the bunch. When no bid contracts are done, those are basically, like say if we wanted to make a swing set, and I go out and I find Carl, and Carl says, hey, I will build you this swing set for $1,000. I would essentially say, okay, let's build that swing set, right? It's not me going out, taking Carl's bid and a multitude of other bids and making sure that we are getting the best bid possible to use our county dollars on. This is essentially going to a single entity and just taking their bid straight up. And it's bad practice, because that's how that's how you can get those types of contracts where you might be overspending on a service that you normally wouldn't spend so much money on. Now, as I stated before, Q. Troy Thomas was removed from office in 2017. Jackson County Legislature, they get sworn into place. And on January 9th, 2023, the Jackson County Legislature essentially votes Deron McGee to become the chair of the Jackson County Legislature. And on January 17th, 2023, Q. Troy Thomas is then appointed as the legislative auditor in a 6-3 vote. Okay? The reason why when this happened, I was so angry and disappointed is because Q. Troy Thomas essentially was in the financial department, in leadership positions during the time when our budget in Jackson County government was essentially out of control. It can be argued that he was partially responsible for, the $100 million accounting error, the $2.7 million in no bid contracts, and all these accounting practices that were found in Nicole Galloway's audit. But even though those things happened and we were given not only a warning from Nicole Galloway as to what is going on in our government, but we were also given, a way to get out. In my opinion, what the Jackson County Legislature did was they hired a person who oversaw all this chaos in the budgeting department and put him in the position of the county auditor to essentially make sure that, like the county auditor's position is essentially supposed to make sure that the county government's budgets are in compliance, right? And they're supposed to conduct internal audits. we essentially put in a person who didn't do the like in my opinion didn't do the budgeting of Jackson County government properly for a series of years, and appointed him as the auditor of Jackson County government. And he hired Calvin Williford to be an employee of the auditor's office. I think that this is very concerning, and it is my I actually wanted to tell this to the public, because this is one of the reasons why I'm going to get to my next slide. Oh yeah, sorry. One more point is Q. Troy Thomas. He's not going to, his term as county auditor is not going to expire until 2028, which is crazy. But next is, we must audit Jackson County government. I don't know if the allegations of Manny Abarca are true or not, but there are things that are going on in the county government that should give our residents concern. And the only way that we can amend their concern and restore the trust in Jackson County is that we audit Jackson County government, get rid of the bad actors in our county government, and fix our budget, and also fix the auditing department in the county as well. We have to root out this corruption, or else, we're never going to reestablish the trust in Jackson County. So this is basically my presentation on my thoughts and opinions about what's going on in the county right now. It is very chaotic. It's probably going to get worse, unfortunately. But, there is still hope. There is hope in this election. If we elect the right people, then we can really have true reform in the government. But we have to elect the people that are really invested into going into the county and rooting out this corruption. I've been talking about this corruption for years. I talked about Q. Troy Thomas. I guess it would be 3 years ago when this whole situation went down. I talked about Calvin Williford. This has been known for years, but nothing has happened. And that's why it is so important that we vote for people who care about reform and care about rooting out corruption in our county government. One more thing I'll say before I open the floor up to questions is that one of the main reasons why I ran for county executive is because I realized that one of the things that I talk about all the time is one resource that we can't replace is time. You can't go back in time. I wish you could, but you can't. And I feel that there are some things in Jackson County that we haven't had, not because we haven't had the resources to get those things, but it's because of the practices of our prior elected officials. One big thing I like to talk about is the public transportation in Jackson County. We actually had at one point a countywide transit system, but it was taken down in the 90s. And so right now, even though our population is over 700,000 people, a person can't go from Kansas City to Lee Summit via the bus. There's no public transit that connects our cities together, and that is unacceptable. And that's not because we don't have the money to fund these initiatives. It's because our prior politicians didn't prioritize things like transportation when they were elected. And so that's again why I'm telling people to pay attention in this race, because your vote matters. Elected officials matter. The leadership matters. If you guys want change, you have to vote for change. So please talk to your friends about what's going on in the county. Talk to your family members about what's going on in the county. Remind them that July 21st, we have a very important race that they can actually begin to vote for. And remember, that August 4th is primary day / the last day that they can vote and get them out to the polls. And with that said, I'm going to take questions now. So the first question I see here is from Brett, who says, why would a person with that kind of record even be employed with the county? That's a great question, Brett. I don't know. The thing is yes, people deserve second chances. I believe that too. However, I believe that when it comes to, when I think of when it comes to second chances, it's Calvin Williford, he already had the prior acts of misappropriating, allegedly misappropriating. I don't even have to say allegedly, but allegedly misappropriating campaign funds, to show that that already shows that he's not good with essentially money, right? Putting him in the auditor's office in the county, I think, is a negligent act. I believe in second chances, but I also believe that you have to be smart. You don't put a person who's has a history of doing misappropriation in an office that's supposed to find out misappropriation and stop misappropriation. Tracy states, didn't Williford learn the first time around? The thing is, I'll say with that, Tracy, is Manny's out, what Chairman Manny Abarca said, these are all allegations. We do not know the truth of those allegations yet, and so that's all we can take it as, is allegations. Of course, this is going to be investigated. It's most likely going to be investigated by the FBI, but until then, these are allegations. However, Williford's past is his past. He did. Let me bring up this thing again. He did. He pleaded guilty to using between $40,000 and $95,000 in campaign funds for personal expenses, including gambling trips to Las Vegas and paying individuals to tear down yard signs of political opponents. Okay, this isn't a misdemeanor crime. These are very serious accusations, and they put him in the county auditor's office, okay, to help conduct the audits in Jackson County. That is insane. And so that's why I'm telling people, you have to pay attention to these county races. The people that are in power right now making these decisions are, they were given this power from your representatives, okay? And so we have to make sure that this year we actually get the right representatives into office. Becky states, follow the money to see who is funding campaigns. Abarca's allegation shows a culture of pay to play is occurring. That's what Becky said. That's not what I said. But yes, I think when it comes to this year's elections, people should look into who's funding whose campaigns, who is being funded by special interest groups and who are not being funded by special interest groups. Because I'll say this, it's not always a bad thing to be funded by a special interest group. And I say that as a caveat. I've not been funded by any special interest groups, but I'm giving people the benefit of the doubt, okay? It's not always a bad thing to be funded by a special interest group. However, you have to you have to, be reminded that when you're getting large funds from special interest groups, usually there's, there could be some sort of interest involved, like some sort of project or something going on behind the scenes. And so, yes, we have to be apprised on who's funding whose campaign. And I'm proud to say that when it comes to my campaign for Jackson County Executive, that the vast majority of campaign contributions have been from individuals, which I'm extremely proud about, because it is my duty is to the people of Jackson County. If I'm elected as Jackson County Executive, I am going to go in to the government and I am going to conduct an audit. I'm going to do essentially my Jackson plan and do my best to make sure that we reform this county, because I understand the stakes. I personally believe that the Democratic Party is on the line when it comes to the Jackson County governance, and I'm going to take that very seriously. And so, as your next elected Jackson County Executive, I'm going to make sure that there is a true audit performed and that we get the Jackson County government back on its tracks. Jonathan Pongratz just wrote, yes, very proud to have donated to the cause. Yes. My cause is deep within my heart. I will say this, people make mistakes all the time. However, you have to know what's in the heart of an individual. And the only way that you really can understand what's in the heart of an individual is if you see what they have done in the past. I'm a person who believes that actions speak louder than words. And with that said I've been campaigning for 6 years for one purpose, and that purpose is to reform and modernize the Jackson County government. And so I believe that I'm the right individual to actually do this, because I started off on the right foot, which is and I'll just tell you guys this. When I was before 2019, I had no dreams of being a politician, okay? I was an attorney. I was litigating. I mean, I'm still am an attorney today. Like, let's not get it twisted. But I was an attorney in 2018. I was litigating cases. I was basically trying to build my firm, and I had no dreams of becoming a politician until 2019, when I saw the devastation of the property tax crisis, and I saw the issues in our Jackson County government and the politicians that were basically exacerbating those issues. And when I realized that no one was willing to stand up, I decided that I was going to stand up for the community. And that's essentially what brought me down to this path. And that's why I am here today, because I honestly want to give our community a valid choice of a person who's going to go into Jackson County government that's not being backed by any special interest groups, and that will do the right thing for our community. And that is what I am going to do. Brittany writes, very happy for you. Excited to be Team Stacy. Thank you, Brittany, so much for that comment. I'm excited that you're on the team too. Brett writes, Manny's actions definitely have the feel of actions for effect and not taking steps necessary to get to the bottom of something. I mean, I'll say this, because we're in allegations land, because we don't know, the motives behind Manny's actions, or why he decided to do this so publicly. And I'll actually make a comment about that too, is usually when it comes to these types of allegations, they're first kind of handled behind the scenes. Like you write a report, the report gets investigated behind the scenes, and when the findings are substantiated, that's when it usually goes public. And when I say substantiated, what I mean is like if there was an indictment, right? That's when it's usually public. And so it actually is interesting why Manny chose this path. But like I said, I don't know why Manny chose this path, and for me to guess why is just pure speculation, and we're not going to do pure speculation on this issue. David Parker writes, "Is there a way to have a conference with you, Miss Lake?" I mean, sure, I'll DM you later, but yeah, I usually am pretty open to talk to anyone in the county about our county issues, because the people have to know. They have a right to know. Hold on, I'm gonna go back to my first slide here because I think or sorry, not my first slide, my third slide, which is chaos in the making. Okay, like everything that's going on in Jackson County right now, it's not due to it's not accidental. This is caused by certain actions that happened in the past, and now we're just seeing what happened as a result of those actions, right? And I say certain actions, what I mean is, Calvin Williford, right, didn't have to be brought back into the county government, right? He didn't have to be put in the auditor's office. Not to say that he did anything wrong in the auditor's office, but he didn't have to be there, right? And there was a reason why he didn't have to be there. And the same thing goes with Q. Troy Thomas. Is he didn't have to be there either. He was let go in 2017, but he was essentially brought back in, even though there was things questionable about his past as to whether or not he was a good a good person when it comes to financial compliance, right? But when I say we, our representatives put him back into power, and now we're in this situation today. Tracy says, can't wait to vote for Team Stacey Lake. Thank you so much, Tracy. I honestly, I can't wait for the primary too, because it has been a very tiring experience. I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. Like it's running a full scale campaign amongst living life is a very tiring experience, but when I actually talk to people, that's what gives me my energy back. I do like to door knock, even though it's, very hot outside, it's very exhausting, but I like to talk to the people. I like to understand what people's issues are, because we all live in our own little bubbles, right? But it's the duty of our representatives to actually go out of our bubbles and find out what's going on in the community so we can fix those issues going on in the community. And so that's one of the things that I love in campaigning is, talking to people and finding about their way of life and the issues that they have in the county. Brett asks, where's the watch party? Stay tuned, Brett. Stay tuned. I don't know if I'm going to have a watch party or not. It depends on how my energy level, because I might just have a watch party at my house because I'm just too exhausted. But we'll see. We'll see how it is. Stay tuned. Becky writes, knowing that some issues are confidential for good reason, will you be a leader that makes educating and informing the community a priority, and how will you do that once you are elected? Thank you for the question, Becky. Yes, I will make educating and informing the community a priority. I think one of the reasons why the county government has become the way that it is because the average person in Jackson County, they don't really understand what the county government actually does. And when there isn't a focus on county governance or the county issues, that's when corruption can seep through, especially when the county government has kind of been acting as like a shadow for so many years when it shouldn't be. The county government can do so many things for our community. And I'll tell you a great example, like Wake County, their county government essentially, built their transportation system, Our county government hasn't really done those things, and it is ridiculous. And it's not because we don't have the ability to, it's just because that's not a priority. And in talking about priorities, I'm about to go into a rant, so just bear with me. Our county buildings are crumbling. We are right now behind $500 million in deferred maintenance because of years of not prioritizing protecting our historical buildings, and that is unacceptable. We have enough funds to maintain our buildings, but we've been refusing to maintain, and when I say we, I mean our elected leaders, basically refused to maintain our buildings for all these years. That has now caused our buildings to be at an emergent state. And when I mean by emergent state is our county buildings aren't even ADA compliant. Every year, a county building goes through one catastrophic maintenance failure, and that's unacceptable. We should be investing in our buildings. We should make our buildings accessible for us all. And that is what I'll do as your next Jackson County executive. Tracy writes, finally, unincorporated Jackson County will be taken care of. Yes. If I become your next Jackson County executive, I can guarantee that. One thing that I actually discussed recently with an individual who lived out in unincorporated Jack, like she was actually very surprised because I talked about how I am very concerned about the road infrastructure out in unincorporated Jack and how I really want to ensure that the roads are properly fixed, maintained, and modernized. And this is because, like, for decades, our county government, for reasons that I don't know of, they haven't invested the proper funds to make sure that the unincorporated Jackson County roads are properly maintained and modernized. And I'll say this with, Tracy lives in Blue Summit. Tracy essentially had to fight just to get street lights put in her neighborhood, had to fight for that. That is ridiculous. Okay, that shouldn't have happened. Blue Summit should have had street lights decades ago, and they weren't able to get street lights until literally within this year. This has to change. And this will change once I become your next Jackson County executive. And I think that's all the comments that I have. Thank you for watching today's Let's Talk Jackson. If you have any other questions or comments, just leave them in the chat. I'll make sure to get back to them. But again, remember, folks, this is a very important election year, okay? There's a lot of stakes here. There are individuals that I believe need to, potentially, that are questionable in our government that essentially needs to be removed after an investigation. We need people in there that are able to do that investigation. And I will do that as your next Jackson County executive. Vote for reform. Vote for modernization. Okay? And with that said, have a great night, everyone. And I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.